"You're just a burden to this family," my sister snapped as she moved into my room. "No one wants you here anyway," her husband added. The next morning, I quietly packed my things. But their perfect little world didn't last long. It started falling apart the same way I first realized something wasn't right. When I heard whispers in the kitchen at 2 a.m., living with my parents again at 28 wasn't ideal. But after Dad's stroke 8 months ago, it made sense. Mom had to keep working to maintain the insurance, and someone needed to stay home with Dad during the day. Thankfully, working remotely made that possible. That night, I had gone downstairs for a glass of water when I overheard Ivy and her husband Adrian talking in hushed voices. They barely visited, maybe once every few weeks, so seeing them there in the kitchen that late was strange. I stopped on the bottom step, not sure if I should interrupt. "The market's great right now," Adrian was saying. "We just have to convince them it's best for everyone." "Sebastian's the issue," Ivy replied. "Dad's always favored him. You know how they are." I stood there, still holding my glass, feeling like I'd walked in on a conversation I was never meant to hear. It brought back memories of when Ivy used to plan how to convince our parents to say yes after they'd already said no. The next morning at breakfast, everything seemed cheerful. Mom was making pancakes, her way of keeping things feeling normal after Dad's stroke. Ivy cleared her throat and said, "We have some news," then grabbed Adrian's hand. "We're selling our house," she announced. Mom nearly dropped the spatula. "Selling? But you love that house," Adrian chimed in. "We've just been thinking a lot about family, especially with your dad's health. We want to be closer." I glanced at Dad. He still struggled with words sometimes, but his eyes were alert. Something flickered in them. Maybe confusion, maybe worry. "We thought," Ivy continued sweetly, "we could move in here just for a while to help out." That's when I saw Adrian glance at me, quick but telling. "Sebastian's room would be perfect for us," Ivy added. "He can work from anywhere." The kitchen went silent, except for the pancakes burning in the pan. Mom turned off the stove slowly. "Sebastian's been here taking care of your father every day," she said carefully. "We're thankful." Adrian smoothly replied, "But, practically speaking, 2 healthy adults are more help than 1, and we'd contribute financially." I sat there, fork in hand, watching it all unfold. Ivy had visited only 6 times in 8 months, half of those under an hour. Things escalated fast after that. Over the next week, Ivy and Adrian were constantly around, showing up unannounced with one excuse after another to be in different parts of the house. I found Adrian in Dad's study twice, once looking for a pen, he said. The second time, he was at the filing cabinet. The comments started small, then got more direct. "Must be nice living rent-free," or "Don't you think it's time you moved out?" Always when our parents weren't around. Last night was the final straw. I was helping Dad with his evening physical therapy when Ivy barged in with, "Adrian." "We need to talk," she said. "Mom and Dad are asleep." I helped Dad into his chair, but before I could say a word, Adrian was blocking the doorway. Ivy stood in front of me, arms crossed. "You need to stop fighting this," she said. "You're just a burden." "Excuse me?" I said. "Look at you," Adrian sneered. "Almost 30, still living at home. No one wants you here." I looked at them closely. Ivy's designer clothes couldn't hide how exhausted she looked. Adrian's shirt was wrinkled, his face drawn with desperation. "If you really cared about this family," Ivy said, "you'd get out of the way and let the adults handle things." I glanced at Dad. He had fallen asleep. Part of me was relieved he didn't hear any of that. I didn't fight back. Something about how desperate they were set off alarms. Instead, I went upstairs, packed a bag, and booked a room at a nearby extended stay hotel. Before I left, I did 2 things. First, I bought a few simple home security cameras, Nothing fancy, just enough to keep an eye on things. When I told Mom it was for Dad's safety, she looked relieved, like she'd been worried too. Second, I contacted the bank and asked them to flag Dad's accounts for suspicious activity. Something about Adrian near the financial documents didn't sit right. I moved out that morning. Ivy and Adrian looked victorious, but their reaction felt off. Adrian started measuring windows in my old room. Ivy mentioned updating Dad's study. Now I'm sitting in my hotel room, watching the camera feeds on my laptop. They think I gave up. They don't realize I'm just getting started. Mom texted me an hour ago. Adrian asked her about Dad's pension paperwork, said he wanted to help organize things. I'm meeting a lawyer tomorrow. Sometimes protecting your family means letting the enemy think they've won. I thought leaving would hurt, but watching Adrian dig through Dad's desk confirms I made the right call. The cameras are recording everything. They wanted my room? Fine, but they're about to learn why it's a mistake to underestimate the quiet one in the family. Update 1. It's been 24 hours since I moved out. I wish I could say I was just being paranoid, but I wasn't. I spent the night reviewing footage in my hotel room, trying to get comfortable. Around 11 p.m., Ivy and Adrian had what they assumed was a private conversation in my old room. The sound wasn't crystal clear, but I heard enough. We don't have a choice anymore, Adrian was saying, pacing. The deadline's in 2 weeks. Ivy sat on the bed, head in hands. I know, but forging Dad's signature. If we get caught. If we don't do this, we lose everything, Adrian interrupted. We're not selling the house, Ivy. We're being evicted. Do you want people to know that? That got my attention. They weren't selling their home at all. Then it got worse. Adrian talked about an investment that had gone wrong. Clients were threatening legal action. He mentioned dollar amounts that made my stomach turn, the kind that can destroy lives. Your parents' house has so much equity, he said. If we get the refinance approved. But Sebastian will notice, Ivy said. He's always watching their accounts. That's why we had to get him out. I have the paperwork. Ready, Adrian replied. We just need your dad's signature. Then we'll have enough money and no one will know. I watched my sister who once taught me to ride a bike, nod in agreement. What about the retirement accounts? She asked. That's when I paused the video and called the bank. Not the local branch, but the corporate fraud department. I explained everything. The woman I spoke with was incredibly helpful. She told me someone had already tried to submit a mortgage application in Dad's name, but it was flagged. The signature didn't match. I spent the rest of the night documenting everything. This morning, I met with an elder law attorney. The meeting was eye-opening. What Ivy and Adrian are doing isn't just wrong, it's illegal. The attorney helped me file for emergency guardianship and contacted the authorities. But the biggest shock came when I dug into Adrian's background. Public records are, there's an open investigation into him for financial misconduct. Several former clients have already filed complaints. His company's been quietly asking people to delete online reviews that mention his name. I knew I had to tell our parents, but I needed to be careful. Instead of confronting Ivy and Adrian directly, I waited until they left for one of their so-called house hunting trips. That was just their excuse for whatever they were really doing. When I got to the house, Mom was in the kitchen trying to teach Dad how to use his new adaptive utensils. The normalcy of the moment hit me. It was like they had no clue what their daughter was actually planning. Sebastian? Mom looked surprised. I thought you were still at the hotel. I sat at the table, opened my laptop, and showed them the footage. Mom turned pale listening to Ivy and Adrian's conversation. Dad's hands shook, not from his condition, but from rage. There's more, I said gently. Mom, remember those papers Ivy wanted you to sign? The ones she said were to help. With bills? Mom's eyes went wide. She ran to her purse and pulled out a stack of documents. Just as the attorney had warned me, power of attorney forms, property transfers, loan applications, all unsigned, just waiting. I almost signed them yesterday, she whispered. Ivy said it was to cover Dad's medical bills. Dad said what we were all thinking. Stop them. I pulled out the documents our lawyer had drafted. Papers to revoke any previous power of attorney, secure their assets, and notify their bank of attempted fraud. They signed right away. As I write this, I'm still at the house. Ivy and Adrian are expected back any minute. They have no clue the mortgage app was rejected, or about the cameras, or that I've spent all day helping our parents lock everything down. The doorbell just rang. Mom's answering it. It should be the attorney I hired, our family. Meeting is in exactly 1 hour. When Ivy and Adrian return, everything will come out. I just heard a car in the driveway. I've moved the living room camera for a better angle. Our parents are ready. The lawyer is here. Time to find out how. My sister plans to explain trying to steal our dad's life savings. I'll update after the meeting. I have a feeling this isn't going how Ivy and Adrian expected. Update 2. I've been staring at my screen for an hour trying to figure out how to write this. The family meeting was 3 days ago, and I'm still trying to process what happened. It started the moment Ivy and Adrian walked through the door, laughing about something, shopping bags in hand, completely unaware. That laughter stopped the second they saw us. Mom and Dad were on the couch. I was in Dad's armchair. A stranger in a suit sat at the dining table with a stack of papers. "What's going on?" Ivy's voice faltered, eyes flicking between us, locking on the documents. Adrian stepped in, as smooth as always. "Is everything okay? We weren't expecting this." "Sit down," Dad said. His speech has been getting better, and he picked the perfect moment to prove it. As they sat, I noticed Ivy's hand tremble. Adrian tugged at his collar, something I'd never seen him do before. Mom spoke first, voice steady but full of pain. "We know about the mortgage, Ivy. The one you applied for using your father's forged signature." Adrian's face went white. Ivy opened her mouth, but he jumped in. "There's been a mistake." I opened my laptop and played the video. The late-night talk, the eviction, the fraud. Their own voices filled the room. Ivy's eyes widened. "You recorded us?" she whispered, stunned. After I caught Adrian digging through Dad's financial records, yes, I said. That's when it all blew up. Adrian leapt up, yelling at me. "You had no right! That's illegal!" "Sit down," the attorney said, his voice slicing through the chaos. "Before we talk about the federal crimes you've attempted, let's go over your legal situation." One by one, he laid out the evidence, the active investigation, client complaints, the credit cards opened in Dad's name. Adrian seemed to sink deeper with each new piece of proof. Then came the shocker. The attorney had found 3 credit cards Adrian had already been using under Dad's name. Ivy crumbled. "You told me we were just borrowing against the house," she cried. "What was I supposed to do?" Adrian shot back. "That investment flopped. Everyone wanted their money back. Your shopping didn't help." "My shopping?" Ivy's voice rose. "What about those gambling charges?" The dam burst. Every lie, every secret they'd kept from each other came flooding out. The house they were selling? Already in foreclosure. Adrian's business? Under investigation. Ivy had hidden everything out of shame. Dad listened silently, his expression growing harder. When the yelling stopped, he spoke slowly and clearly. "You tried to rob us." "No, Daddy," Ivy sobbed. "We were desperate. We were going to pay it back." "With what money?" Mom asked. No one replied. The attorney cleared his throat. "Here's what's happening. Mr. and Mrs. Sebastian have revoked any previous power of attorney and placed fraud alerts on all accounts. Credit card companies have been notified, and..." He turned to Adrian. "The authorities have been informed." Adrian jumped up, knocking over a lamp. "You can't prove anything. Ivy, tell them." But Ivy didn't look at him. She stared at the floor, shoulders shaking. "How much did you steal from your clients?" she asked softly. Adrian deflated. "I can fix this. I just need time." "Time's up," the attorney said. 2 police cars pulled up outside. The yada next moments felt surreal. Adrian was arrested, ranting about betrayal. Ivy sat crying on the couch. Mom went into the kitchen to stress bake, her coping mechanism. Dad wheeled into his study to think. I found Ivy later, sitting in my old room, staring at a photo of us as kids. "I didn't know about the cards," she whispered. "I knew we were drowning, but he said if we just had access to the equity, he could fix it." "Why didn't you ask us for help?" I asked. She looked up, eyes filled with regret. "Because if I admitted we were failing, I had to admit my perfect life wasn't real." This morning, the police called. They found major fraud on Adrian's laptop. He wasn't just conning us. His whole business was fake. Ivy's meeting a divorce lawyer tomorrow. I moved back in today. My room still smells like her perfume, but all the shopping bags are gone. Mom baked enough to supply a bakery. Dad's quiet, but when I sat beside him for TV tonight, he squeezed my hand. Family counseling starts next week. Ivy agreed to go. There's a lot to untangle legally, but at least our parents' future is no longer at risk. Doing the right thing can feel awful, but watching Mom sleep peacefully tonight knowing they're safe makes it worth it. As for Ivy, that's a much longer road. Final update coming soon. They say revenge is best served cold. Well, I've had 6 months. Dinner's finally on the table, and while we eat, let me tell you where things stand. Remember Adrian? The one who tried to steal my parents' life savings and called me a burden? Well, he's now in a prison cell with someone who doesn't care much for his financial advice. But that's just the beginning. Let me walk you through what happened after my last update. I didn't just sit around and hope the system would sort it all out. I got strategic. Those cameras I installed, they recorded everything. Every phone call Adrian made, every file he touched, every email he opened on our Wi-Fi. I brought in a forensic expert to dig deep. What they uncovered went beyond anything I expected. Adrian wasn't just stealing from us. He was running a full-blown web of scams. Offshore accounts, fake businesses, countless victims spanning years. Each new find was like unwrapping a new layer of his lies. Now, let's talk about Ivy. Always flaunting that perfect life on social media. Designer clothes, lavish vacations, that house they loved to show off. Turns out it was all funded by stolen money. And thanks to laws targeting profits from crime, everything had to be liquidated to repay victims. During the divorce, evidence surfaced that Ivy knew more than she let on. The shopping trips, the getaways, they were all paid with funds taken from elderly clients. Her Instagram-ready life collapsed once it all went public. Then came the jackpot. I found Adrian's hidden laptop in our attic during a cleanup. He must have stashed it during the move. The files were encrypted, but I had the right connections. What we found was wild. Emails, hundreds of them. Adrian bragging about how he manipulated my sister, how he was draining my parents' accounts, and how he viewed us as easy targets. He even had a spreadsheet calculating how much he could steal. Before raising suspicion, I sent those files everywhere, to his family, his old college friends, the people at his country club. Every single person who bought into his self-made man story got the truth straight from Adrian's own words. But I wasn't done. I tracked down every client he scammed. I gave them the emails, the recordings, even his prison info. Some were retired couples who lost everything. Others were business owners who trusted him with their futures. They banded together, formed a support group, and are now suing not just Adrian, but everyone who benefited from the money. His parents are losing the vacation home he bought them. His brother's startup is being shut down. Ivy tried to play the victim, but the receipts told the truth. The bankruptcy court took a special interest in her designer handbags. Apparently, fraud-funded fashion isn't a good look. She's working at a mall now, the same one where she used to blow thousands on shopping. And Adrian? His cellmate's been posting on prison forums. Apparently, the tough guy routine didn't last. He cries at night and tried using his financial knowledge to earn respect. That didn't go over too well in a place full of people who hate scammers. Meanwhile, my mom is smiling again. My dad's speech is improving now that the stress is gone. They're going on vacation next month, their first real one in years, and it's paid for honestly. And that guardianship I filed for? It's now permanent. I'm in charge of all family finances. Everything Adrian tried to take has not only been protected, it's growing. The returns are funding my dad's care. But karma wasn't finished. A documentary team reached out. They're doing a series on financial criminals, and Adrian is going to be their first episode. I gave them everything, all the proof. Adrian's finally getting the fame he always wanted, just not the kind he imagined. Ivy called yesterday. She wants to meet and explain things. I agreed, but not at home. We're meeting at the courthouse cafe. I'll have a recorder running, just in case. Adrian's got 15 years to think about what he did. His appeals were denied. His victims are making sure his name is blacklisted everywhere. Sometimes I sit in my old bedroom, the one they tried to take from me, and read letters from the people he hurt. Each one thanking me for exposing him. Every word reminds me that I did the right thing. The quiet one in the family isn't so quiet anymore. They tried to destroy us for their own greed. Instead, they ruined themselves. And I watched it all fall apart, one step at a time. By the book. Yesterday, my dad said something I'll never forget. The best revenge isn't what you do to them. It's letting them live with what they did. His voice was clearer than ever. I'm meeting Ivy in an hour. My recorder is charged. I've got all the documents showing her involvement. Time to serve the final course of this cold, cold dish. This will be my last update. Some stories end in forgiveness. This one ends in justice.